It's time for a fucking roast. These cheeky fucks started 2017 strong by butchering a beloved 10-year-old series. However, they did their best to appeal to nostalgia by including facial animations that would be suited to the first game in the franchise. They later closed Visceral Games before moving its single-player Star Wars title to other studios, stating that they were going to deliver an experience that players will want to come back to and enjoy for a long time to come. They later stated that people simply don't enjoy linear games anymore. However, it doesn't take a fucking genius to know that Electronic Arts simply finds it harder to upsell a single-player game as opposed to a multiplayer experience. Any other fucking studio who had some of the most talented individuals in the world, the motherfucking Star Wars license, and the goddamn director of the first 3 Uncharted games, would see this as an opportunity to give the studio a blank check to get Game of the fucking Year. The business model of Electronic Arts simply isn't geared towards people who like video games. Their titles are designed to be for the casual audience who might buy 1 or 2 games a year and who think microtransactions are just the standard price of admission. Their sports titles are a perfect example of this business model. They are widely appealing to a casual audience, they are designed to be competitive, and they are filled with pay-to-win bullshit. In fact, FIFA microtransactions alone account for $800 million of revenue a year. This might be acceptable if their sports titles delivered true innovation. However, even the most hardcore fans are finding it hard to tell the difference from year to year. The Sims is also considered to be one of the most casual games available, and even for a game that was released in 2009, the full game with all DLCs is $400 fucking dollars. This isn't to say that Electronic Arts cannot recognize a good game when they see one. Publishing Titanfall 2, one of the most critically acclaimed shooters in a highly saturated market, was an excellent decision by the company. However, what wasn't a good decision was to release it between 2 of the most high profile and profitable substitutes fucking imaginable, and ultimately selling less than half that of the first game. At this stage, we all knew Electronic Arts isn't a consumer-friendly company. In fact, it was evident several years earlier when they were voted the worst company in America 2 years running. Electronic Arts is on the same fucking level as the company who spilled 210 million gallons of oil into the Gulf of Mexico and the company who is paying off other fucks to destroy the internet. The only reason I suspect they are not going to win the same title again is because they stopped the award in 2014. Electronic Arts has become a joke in the industry, as at the 2017 Game Awards, they were roasted on 2 separate occasions.
And the game award goes to, oh man, I have to pay a microtransaction to unlock. That's so stupid that this has to, hold on, I got this guys, here we go.
Yeah. This is the thing.
Yeah.
And this is my idea. It doesn't have anything with the EA shit going on, with the loot box and stuff.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Look. I'm gonna say to you one thing. EA has been very good to me.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, they're getting, because it's nice to hate EA, blah, blah. I don't care about that shit. What I'm saying is this. All publishers fuck up sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Then we come to the Star Wars Battlefront clusterfuck. A situation so fucking laughable that you'd think the executives made a list of good ideas and a list of bad ideas and got them fucking mixed up. The process of making Battlefront 2 was to give a team of some of the most talented developers on Earth all the resources they needed to make a game based on one of the most beloved franchises of all time. Most companies would stop right there and enjoy all the praise, critical acclaim, and years of goodwill. But Electronic Arts instead decides to pump it full of pay-to-win microtransactions and make the progression slower than a crippled snail stapled to a dead turtle. In fact, to earn everything this game has to offer, it would take a player over 4,500 hours, or over $2,000. It doesn't even matter how they change it from this point. The hand has been shown, and the only regret of Electronic Arts is that they didn't get away with it. This whole controversy started when it came to light that it would take roughly 40 hours to unlock Darth Vader as a character. It doesn't even take this fucking long to unlock characters in most free-to-play games. The price of all heroes was then reduced by 75%. However, what they forget to mention is that the credit gained by completing the campaign was reduced by the same amount, offsetting the change anyway. But to a large majority of players, they only noticed the price decrease and proudly defended these awful business practices. But as if the hole couldn't get any deeper, they then tried to defend this system by claiming that it will give players a sense of pride and accomplishment, before quickly smashing the record for the most downvoted comment in Reddit history. Players didn't even get credits for anything other than simply being in games, meaning players were just rubber banding their controllers and getting just as much as they would for getting 200 kills. You can just feel the pride and accomplishment radiating off of them. It seemed more likely for Electronic Arts to add an AFK achievement before actually fixing this bullshit. Not to mention the credit gain of the arcade mode was fucking capped to stop players from farming it for the credits, as opposed to buying their shitty loot boxes. Electronic Arts was also caught with the review version of the game being significantly more generous in terms of credit gain, which would be perfectly acceptable if they had informed the reviewers that this was the case. Many people simply want the game to move away from pay-to-win microtransactions and implement a purely cosmetic system. However, this idea was rejected, stating that it would be restricted by what Disney would allow them to use. This is despite the fact that data miners found a shit ton of cosmetic options already in the game. It's as if Electronic Arts is so self-aware of its universal hatred that it's just accepted to double down on being a piece of shit, as opposed to taking steps to being more consumer friendly, which makes sense as a company, considering they are primarily dealing with a casual audience who doesn't even attempt to keep up with this bullshit or don't understand the wider implications for the industry. However, what Electronic Arts didn't expect is to have their game be voted worse than its original, which was developed over a decade ago, having a widely supported petition to have their Star Wars license revoked and to gain the attention of government entities in 3 separate continents. Hawaii Representative Chris Lee called the game
a Star Wars themed online casino designed to lure kids into spending money. It's a trap.
It was only until Disney got involved when Electronic Arts finally pulled microtransactions out of the game. However, this was a turning point for the company, as among the government pressure, the intervention from Disney, and an outcry from hundreds of thousands of Star Wars fans, Electronic Arts seemed to have learned its lesson, and we as consumers could all breathe a sigh of relief. Not really. I mean, are you fucking kidding? When companies make annual games, people often joke about it being a copy and paste of last year's release. But this shit is fucking frame by frame. And they do this because they can fucking get away with it. And mark my fucking words, this shit will be pay to win just like Battlefront 2, Need for Speed, or any other fucking sports game they decide to make. Electronic Arts is a company that is not going to push forward the games industry, and I don't think they'll ever, in the foreseeable future, make a game that is a contender for Game of the Year, or is considered a 10 out of 10 by a wide number of game critics. Because ultimately, critical acclaim, or widespread goodwill, does not mean a more profitable business. This is a painful statement to make, but the numbers don't lie. The company who made The Witcher 3, for example, have been praised for spending 3.5 years to create a game that came away with more perfect scores than they could even count. And after they released 15 free content updates, they went on to win the Developer of the Year award in 2015. And let's not forget the cheap as fuck expansions that have more content each than most other full-priced games. Needless to say, CD Projekt Red is a developer that cannot be praised enough in a time where loot boxes are all thrown into most AAA games. However, when you look at the revenue, Electronic Arts makes more money per year by selling pay-to-win loot boxes in just their sports games than CD Projekt makes company-wide. There is no incentive for a company to make their games better if they can simply use shitty business models to offset the need for a good product. Regular viewers of this channel know that I had a similar issue with the way YouTube works. A month ago, I made a video criticizing the channel Cernando for making 10-minute long clickbait videos and for often lying to his audience. To prove how much he lied and dragged on his content, I uploaded a video that he made. However, I simply sped it up slightly every time he told a lie. For whatever fucking reason, this video became my most watched of all time within the first week, and this makes me uncomfortable. The reason I made the video was to show how much I hated clickbait and easy content. However, in doing so, I have demonstrated how rewarding this type of practice is for creators. Currently, this video, that was just copying another person's creation and editing it slightly, has made me just short of $900. Altogether, it took me roughly 5 hours to make. However, since then, I have created a pair of specific videos that have been watched by less than half of my subscriber base. What makes this more unbelievable is that one of them featured the first time I've actually used my voice on my channel, and the other one is the most positively received video I've ever made. They took around 20 hours each to make, and have made a combined total of just $53. This has put me as a creator in a difficult position. I need to choose between actually making money and supporting myself, or creating videos that are better, but not as widely appealing. It's an awful realization that companies and creators often need to choose between making products that are different and exciting, or making something that is rehashed and profitable. Companies like Electronic Arts made it to the top of the industry by sticking to safe and profitable, which is why the biggest companies in the gaming industry often create the most amount of rehashed content and have the most microtransactions. Because getting to the top doesn't mean you need to be the best, you just need to be the most profitable. So where do we all stand with the concept that safe is profitable and new isn't rewarding? What are we as consumers expected to do in a world of marketing hype, clickbait videos, and a system that seems to be geared toward the unethical as opposed to the generous? These are questions that I simply can't answer. But as shitty as it sounds, if I was an Electronic Arts executive with an obligation to maximize profits, I would probably do the same thing. And if I was a poor developer who worked for years to make an amazing game before having it be destroyed by that same executive, I would be heartbroken. But in business, people vote with their wallets, and ultimately the collective consumer needs to reflect on what they are paying for. Because as long as a system remains to be the most profitable, it will always be the most widely used. Perhaps loot boxes are simply a product of the free market, and it can be argued that they wouldn't exist if they weren't so profitable to game publishers. However, on the other hand, loot boxes are just gambling without regulation, and it is very possible that once governments take notice, game companies will have to change the way that they monetize their products. And on that day, the industry will be flipped on its head. Game enthusiasts everywhere will celebrate, and publishers will have to go back to the dark ages of actually having to make good products in order to be profitable. At this point, I would like to give a special mention to Ubisoft as being a big publisher that truly wants to repair the trust of their audience. Long being known for much of what Electronic Arts is guilty of, they've shown their commitment to become a more consumer-friendly and ethical company over the past year. The continued support and regular updates of old titles, the willingness to take risks and try new things, and the more consumer-facing direction of their games should be commended next to the awful practices of Electronic Arts. Only quite recently, Ubisoft had planned to increase the base price of Rainbow Six Siege and implement RNG microtransactions into the game. However, in only 2 days, the decision was scrapped after players expressed their dissatisfaction with the changes. Not only this, but Ubisoft has vowed to re-evaluate the grindy nature of the starter edition, as well as give out the upcoming Ash Elite skin for free, which is a huge move, considering how popular an Ash Elite skin would be. This is exactly how to handle a situation when players are dissatisfied with the publisher's business practices. Ubisoft acted quickly, admitted they had made a mistake, and compensated players in order to patch up negative feelings between the two parties. Many people will say that Ubisoft should not have tried to make these changes in the first place, but I have so much more respect for a company who can so readily admit they were wrong when their policies turn anti-consumer. Rainbow Six Siege still has a way to go before truly becoming a model that other companies can follow, but Ubisoft's commitment to strengthen their relationship with their customers is something that I can't help but admire, and it gives me hope for other large publishers going forward. However, before this video ends, I would like to cast your mind back to April 3rd of 2006, when Bethesda had just released the Horse Armor DLC for The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and the public outcry was fucking insane. It became a meme for several years about how no one would ever pay for something so stupid. But Jesus fucking Christ, what I wouldn't do for some Horse Armor DLC right now. This shit didn't give you any significant pay to win advantage. It was in a single player game, and it costed $2.50. The best part of the DLC is that you actually knew what you were fucking getting. You could evaluate its value and make an educated decision for what it was worth. You didn't buy it and hope you got something that you might actually like, and if you didn't think it was worth the price, you could just ignore its entire existence. It didn't have a place in the fucking main menu that's bigger than the fucking play option. We didn't know how good we had it when we had fucking Horse Armor.
Here's a little lesson in trickery. This is going down in history. If you wanna be a villain